Look at that rat. Welcome to Discover Wilderness. I'm Philip Watson. Today we're going to be exploring a dredge. This is the only intact bucket line dredge left in Colorado. And it may be the most intact bucket line dredge left in the United States. Using the bucket line, this dredge could dig over 100 feet deep. This dredge was used off and on from 1941 into the 1960s. This is where the dirt would be deposited and run through. This entire structure would float on top of the water. The red metal and below are the pontoons. This dredge was the equivalent of several hundred men prospecting at the same time. This is the water pump that brought water in. The water would then split off to different areas around the dredge. Some water would go to the grizzly bars, and some would go to the sprayers inside of the trommel. These are the sluice boxes. In total, there are 32. This here is the steam generator. The bottom would be filled with wood, heating all these pipes. This would be run to ensure that all the systems would not freeze up. And here we have a pack rat, also known as a wood rat. The reason they are called pack rats is because they have a tendency to collect things such as debris, bones, and trash to make their nests. This is the nest. These rats have bushy tails, making them noticeably cuter than other rats. The other side of the steam generator. After the water was heated, these pipes would go throughout the dredge, ensuring the systems would stay thawed. Unfortunately, the top of the dredge is not in as good of condition as the rest. We have made our way to the start of the operation. The dirt was dropped onto these grizzly bars to filter out the largest rocks. Any material that was small enough to make it through would continue to the trommel. This is the entrance to the trommel. The trommel is the entire cylinder. These sprayers would keep the dirt loose so it could be filtered through all the little holes. While the trommel spins, smaller debris would fall through all the holes along the side. As you can see, there are different size holes that classify different size rocks throughout this process. And at the end there are these very large holes that allow the remaining rocks to fall out. The large rocks would drop down to the conveyor belt from here. What a massive trommel. The smaller material went down these sluice runs. The heavier material such as gold would get stuck in the traps, while lighter dirt would continue down the runs and end up on the conveyor belt. This massive motor would rotate the trommel using this chain. Towards the end of the process, these water wheels would pick up excess dirt and sand, dropping them onto the conveyor belt. After all the gold had been filtered out, the material entered the conveyor belt. The structures just above the conveyor belt are called boulder catchers. They would allow the dirt and rocks to go up, but prevent boulders from rolling backwards and damaging the machinery. Even though this machine is very old, the enclosed walkway has remained in fairly good repair. These cables are what hold this section up. While this machine was operational, workers would come along and grease these rollers, ensuring extra material could move with ease. After all these years, the rollers still roll. This is the last part of the process. All the extra material came up over the pulley and dropped to its final resting place. The window at the top sure has a great view of the surrounding mountains. Let's walk from the end of the conveyor to the trommel. Time to go up to the top floor. These pulleys were used for stabilizing the dredge while afloat, by anchoring to large boulders or buried wires. This is the top of the conveyor housing. After the gold traps were cleaned out, they would bring the pay dirt to be screened out. The big nuggets would be classified through the sluice. The smaller dirt would be screened out and augered up to this red feeder and dropped onto this shaker table. At this point, almost all that is left is pure gold. Thank you for watching this episode of Discover Wilderness. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.